appointed was, as you see, his name's up there. Max Fitzpatrick was supposed to be a part of this. Now, for those of you that may not know the name Max Fitzpatrick, you've already heard his name. You would have heard his name if I'd have got down to him. He's a past president of this organization. He's a past secretary-treasurer of this organization. He is a AFFL recipient. Well, there's not much that Max doesn't do. He also, if you look on page 12 of your program, you'll see him listed as a contributor. He's a sponsor of this association, this convention. That speaks well of a guy by the name of Max Fitzpatrick. Max, for those of you that may not know, on the way to Florida this fall, stopped at a rest stop, went into a restroom, slipped and fell, and really, really hurt himself badly. I just wanted to tell you that he didn't get much care at that rest stop, and finally made his way back to Florida to discover that he had 4 broken ribs, internal organs that were in disarray, and he was in worse shape than what he thought. And Max, when I called these 3 guys about 6 weeks ago and said, hey, would you be a part of this program, as suggested by your planning committee, they thought these 4 guys ought to try to put this together. I called Max and he was just elated that he had an opportunity to come and be a part of this. And he called me, he went to the doctor earlier this week to beg the doctor to let him come. And the doctor said, you cannot, you should not travel. And so I asked Max if he would maybe be able to contribute a few things. Now, those of you that know Max, when you ask him to contribute a few things, I have never received a longer text in my life. I want to share it with you. I might have altered it just a little bit, but I'd like to share it with you because Max needs to be a part of this program. I think these 2 guys would agree with you. I miss seeing and talking with friends and members of my fair family, having attended all the conventions since my first one in, hey you guys, 1959. You are my family. You are the ones who produce events for your hometown people in a way that becomes an annual celebration, educating so many about your community's way of life. I suggest that you remember that the first exhibitors, now this is Max talking, the first exhibitors in our world were Adam and Eve. Exhibitors, okay. And they let it all hang until a snake sold them on the idea of eating the forbidden apple. That's Max. From that point on, perfection was shattered. From caveman to 2020 has been a developing time for presenting our best efforts to share with others to observe. Which brings us to the day at hand. 100 years of our association affairs, and now festivals as well. I've been honored to serve its many diversified members in different capacities over those years. He was never elected or appointed as a director, but was elected as vice president, and the next year served as president of the association. From there, I was chosen to become the executive secretary. And by the way, I think he did that for nearly 20 years. I stepped into the best job ever as secretary-treasurer, and with my wife, Lois, we were honored to serve. Bob Barnett, some of you sitting out there are old enough to remember Bob Barnett, my predecessor, and this is Max's words, love him or hate him, was my mentor. We did many activities together, including a close association with the Indiana horse racing circuit, and with the cooperation of the board and many members, we brought about several changes. We used to come to functions and everyone had assigned seating. I don't remember that. How would you like that? Assigned seating. He said it was a time waster, and we did away with it. Roll call for all counties was conducted, so we knew how many were there, and I remember that one happening. That was done away with. There was a lady that transcribed all the activities, and additional women registered attendees on rented typewriters. And we had you know what a typewriter is? Some of you young people know. And we had a typist to produce all the name tags. To get all these kinds of activities done more efficiently, Lois and I bought 2 computers using our own money, and lots of changes began to happen with the use of the computers. We also bought a popcorn popper to replace the rented one that did not always work quite as well as we had hoped. Lois and I worked hard to lower expenses and find ways to produce income for the association. You all might be interested to know that our convention has not always been at the Marriott East. Over the years, conventions have been held at the Claypool Hotel, Lincoln Hotel, Marriott West, Adams Mark Hotel, Downtown Hilton, Marriott East, and then back to the Adams Mark, and then Margaret and Max, he says, negotiated an agreement for a long-term commitment with Marriott East. And we've been here for many, many years. Even though one year there was a fire that had the firemen dragging hoses down the halls past what is now the swimming pool. Anybody else remember that? A fire during the convention. And pipes froze, water flowed over the balconies like a waterfall, and it was so cold and the snow was so bad that we ended the convention early that year. Over the years, the Marriott East and staff has provided us with tremendous service, and it has been a great relationship. He says, I came up with the idea of a trade fair. About the third year of the trade fair, Glenn and Suzanne Schlabach went to Las Vegas, and we went to the IFA convention. See, I told you it was a good idea. And I took him around to the trade fair floor where we began to put together a trade fair, a bigger trade fair for our convention. Glenn took this job immediately and grew it to its present size. And we remember Glenn Schlabach. These were the beginning days of sponsorships for our organization, and I encourage fairs to get their share as well. There are many stories that I would love and be happy to share in an audio history interview, should there ever be a decision to do one. Max wants to be a part of that. What I would really emphasize to all of you that are here today is that every person connected to the fair is important. The wider the board can spread the base of jobs to be done, the more enthusiasm is created for the event. Every job is important. So much is shared and learned at each level of the chain of meetings, seminars, and conventions. My best wishes go out to each of you to experience a tremendous convention. 25 years ago, I was a part of the planning for the 75th anniversary of our association. And we began thinking about this one this year. I'm very, very upset that consequences keep me from attending this year. I look forward to seeing you all next year. God bless. God bless you all. Max Fitzpatrick.